Everybody, we'll give people a few minutes to show up and then kind of roughly go over what we're going to show today. This week we are having an Earth Day spotlight. We have 2 new pattern plates. So this was that sea turtle?
Yeah, sea turtle skin
and stingray skin, which might be my new favorite. I think it's so good, that little texture. So those are 2 new pattern plates that we have this week to go along with the theme. We don't have many of the examples of the impression dies that are up, but there are probably at least 20.
Yeah,
20
we have
to 25.
just a couple. I pressed some turtles.
They're so cute. And if you saw Lynette's post from yesterday, she's making a little tension fit container.
With
using this one. Oh, that one.
Sorry, this one.
The
it's
bigger
hard to
one.
Point when you're looking through a phone.
So she's gonna finish that.
I'm dumb and I forgot to bring it.
Yeah, so it won't be today. But that'll be really sweet once that's finished. These 3 turtles. There's kind of an assortment of botanicals and animals. Like there's lions and endangered animals and things like that are also that we have available. This is like my favorite of the leaf types that are up right now.
And this has been a Friday ISO request for several weeks in a row, and I couldn't put it up because it was reserved for this spotlight. So if you've been waiting for it, now is
your time. So if you're here, if you're watching, comment, let us know like how you're doing, say hi, just so that we know if comments are coming through. That way we can tell if we can see what you are writing us. Those are such good little turtles.
I thought this one was going to be hard to press because it's pretty deep. Like on the die, it looked
intimidating.
Scary. Yeah, it looked scary deep, but it was actually really pretty easy. Surprised me.
It's a good size too. Like you could use that as an earring or a pendant or a ring. That'd be cute.
Yeah.
Finger.
I gotta make something for my mom. She's obsessed with turtles and she has like box turtles and desert tortoises and
that's awesome.
She's a crazy turtle lady. If that's a thing.
I didn't until I moved to Tucson, had no idea that like having desert tortoises or desert turtles was a thing. And then like I don't know if it's the city or the Fish and Wildlife, but they're always looking for people to adopt them, but they're like a lifetime commitment.
Live a really long time. The nice thing about them though is they hibernate like a good part of the year, so there are several months where you don't have to do anything.
With you.
And because they're native, they eat a lot of the native plants. So
if you want a turtle, or tortoise, probably.
Tortoise, yeah.
So today it's going to be a little scattered, but I wanted to show you a couple ways that you can add beads to your metalwork using impression dies and pattern plates. So if you're like a lot of people, before you got into metalsmithing, you most likely started, making bead necklaces or things like that. So I know I have a stash from when I was a kid. I still actually have some of the beads. But it's a really simple way to add a little bit of pop of color to your metalwork without getting into like enameling or powder coating or more complicated stone settings. So I just wanted to show you a couple different ways.
I love this one.
Isn't that good?
It's cool.
I'm going to show that one too.
I like it a lot. When Annie and I went to the gem show, she was buying all these like microscopic tiny beads.
I know.
And I was like, those are so tiny. But look how cute they are.
These are probably...
Wow.
Love them. And those aren't even the smallest ones.
They're like so hard to even see. They're so small.
They look like a speck of paint on the
little rubies?
Wall. I think so. Yeah, little itty bitty.
Teeny tiny.
They're either rubies or fake rubies. Sometimes you don't know. But basically these are going to be, there's probably specific wire wrapping terms or different techniques. I don't know those. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that is fun.
Which I can show you how to do that too. For the ones that have these balls at the end, you would need a Smith Little torch because you really need a hot, fine point flame. But I did want to show, I think it's this one, an example of a way that you can add them if you don't have one of those torches.
Just wrapping.
Just wrapping it.
Yeah.
So if you can get one torch, I love my Smith Little. I do it, yeah, which is.
So there are 2 Smith torches. This is the Smith Little.
Don't get a knockoff.
No, they're actually fairly dangerous. You want the real thing, so buy it from a reputable dealer. And it mixes oxygen with fuel, so you can get it either propane or acetylene. Mm-hmm. Here we have propane in the studio. At my house, I have oxyacetylene. The nice thing about propane, well, I'm not going to get into it. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But that's the Smith Little. And then it's right here, right in front of my face. This is the Smith. It's a larger silversmith torch, and it has like an ambient air intake. So it brings in like oxygen just from the air and mixes it with the gas right here in these holes. Okay.
Yeah. So I think are there people watching?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my first question is, do you want to see me press this leaf first?
Let us know in the comments. The tip size is going to depend on what you're doing and which fuel you're using, but for me, my most common tip with the little torch is a number 5.
Yep, same here.
Okay, so
yeah,
it's a good place to start. Make sure you read the manual because what you set the regulators at will change depending on the tip size that you're using. Mm-hmm. Instruction manuals are always a great resource for information.
We strongly recommend reading all the instructions multiple times.
Yes.
Lynette and I both come from an educational background and know how to write pretty dang good instructions, if I do say so myself.
Annie writes our instructions. All right, they say, sure, press the leaf.
Okay. Then we're gonna hop on over. We're gonna use the electric ring con, just because we have that set up. Okay, so I have my impression die, and I think this is fine silver. It's probably 20 gauge. I'm not sure. I had previously roll printed it, but we're just going to pretend that I didn't.
They can't really see that, so you don't even have to tell them.
Good. Revealing my secrets.
Yeah.
So I want to choose a piece of urethane that is smaller, that will fit within the impression itself. That one I probably would need to add a little bit more. So I think what I'll do is
So not
a big chunk like that.
A big chunk like this. And Annie will tell you why.
Mm-hmm. You want to, as best you can, force the metal into the deepest part of the die first. Also, if your metal or if your urethane is larger than the impression itself, when it smashes, the excess urethane is going to press the metal against the surface, the flat surface of the die. That's going to trap it. So when that happens, if the metal around the perimeter of the design is trapped, that metal can't be pulled down into the middle. So it will be stretched and thinned right at that edge, making it more likely to split. So I'm going to place my metal over the design, and then these little pieces that I decided on.
I'm going to switch sides with you because I'm in your way.
Yeah. Okay. And then I have a little, we get it under there? Perfect. Okay. So I am making sure that the urethane, the spot on the die where the pressure is being exerted, is centered under the tool steel pusher. It is centered or not up and down, left to right and front to back. So I'm gonna peek from the side, make sure everything is good and centered. Not the die itself, just the spot where you were working. Okay. Now I'm gonna hit it with some pressure. It's gonna get loud. Pop that out. You can see it's formed down in there. And I didn't hit it with the full tonnage. This is fine silver, so it moves really easily. What I've done now, we'll see if we don't even need to anneal it. We sell aluminum plugs. Woo. Let's go show you. On our site that are just lengths of aluminum rod that you anneal and then can create a force that sort of takes the place of the urethane. Lynette turned me on to just like using aluminum foil for certain processes. So the plugs work really well for larger designs, but for this, I just took a ball of wadded up urethane and made a little tiny
Foil.
Yes, thank you.
A ball of wadded up foil.
And then pressed it, and so I'm going to take that aluminum foil force. I'm going to place that into the impression, and I'm going to press it again. We'll see. That should get us most, if not all, the detail.
It's kind of like pressing solid without actually pressing solid.
Yes. Usually, I can just pop it out. I don't know why it's sticking. Oh, there we go. Come back. Ta-da!
Do a little side to side
You can see the
detail.
a little bit more. That got it all.
Looks great.
So highly recommend doing that.
You can also use like crumpled up paper. Our shipping paper is perfect. Some of our customers use cardboard. Some use scraps of leather.
Don't use wood. What else can we say?
Just use things that are, recommended for the press.
Yep.
Nothing that can fracture.
So that's an easy way to press that. I'm not going to trim it, but what you would do is then you would cut this out using a jeweler's saw or possibly even shears, just because they're all like external, like easy lines, no internal cuts. And then depending on how you want that piece to hang, you can solder a jump ring on one end or both ends, depending on your design. But that is how you press that. That was the easiest way. One good thing about doing the pusher or the aluminum foil, pusher would be you can use that over and over again to make multiples and make them relatively quickly. So when you do that, you do want to start with the urethane first, because that gives you sort of the shadow, the rough outline, so that you know where to put that pusher. So press it once with urethane and then go in with an aluminum pusher, and it makes life easy. Any questions about that? If not, then we will, what do we want to do? Let's start with, I didn't fully plan out the order.
It's a good one to start with.
Do
You
that
decide.
one? Okay.
Up to you. You're the boss.
That's fine. Okay. I have my little tray with some beads in it. you want to start with a wire that will fit through the hole of your bead, which sounds like a common sense thing, but sometimes these holes are tinier than they look. It's probably 28 gauge, maybe 26. There's something sticky.
Ew. And is this sterling?
This is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easier to wrap. The main thing when you're doing any sort of wire wrapping, you want to minimize the amount that you work the wire because it's so thin, it work hardens really fast. So you do want to start with annealed wire. I would anneal it even if you purchase it dead soft. And I think in one of our videos, you showed how to anneal wire. I don't remember which one it is, but we can try and find it.
Yeah, there's two different ways I do it. For something this tiny, I actually have a weird trick where I should have brought it.
That's okay. I didn't think to ask.
I will take an old Altoid tin and outside burn off all the paint of the tin. So it's just like a black, nasty Altoid tin. And then you can put wire this fine in the Altoid tin and heat the Altoid tin to like a glowing, a dull red glow, and the wire will anneal inside the tin, and you don't have to worry about it melting. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to use binding wire. That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I'll bring that in sometime and show you. But the other way is to use binding wire and make this like one solid coil. So you don't have to.
I could try and show you how I did that this morning. I didn't use binding wire, so I just pretty much got lucky. I heated the air all the way around the coil.
It's not luck, it's lots of practice.
It is lots of practice. You're right, thank you. But you do want to make sure that it is dead soft. This is about 26 gauge, I believe. You could draw it down. I just buy it. So you do want to make sure that whatever wire you're using will fit through the holes of the beads. So like these little guys, that fits. I think this wire will fit through most of the ones that I have. If you wanted to use a larger wire, you would either need to ream out the holes of the beads that you're using, or choose, like over here, I don't know if that one is that right size. Yeah, so you just have to check. You have to do some playing around to make sure that your wire is the right size.
We cannot do links right now while we're doing the live, but you can find that leaf under Facebook specials on our site this entire week. It will be removed from the site Sunday midnight. Arizona time.
Yep. So yeah, that's, I guess, part number one is making sure that you have the right wire before you get into the like full-on designing stage. You're ready to go. Make sure that your wire will actually fit. So for these, I just made these like paper clip style links, and you start with, well, this is how I do it. You start with a jump ring that I've soldered closed, and then take either round nose pliers or chain nose that have the rounded outside shape. Try and not move too much.
That's how I do it too. Thanks, Patty. Elvin Leaf. Patty Tingstead dropped the SKU for you in the chat. If you want to search on the site, you can use those search terms.
Okay, so I have my ring basically under tension on the jaws of the pliers, and now I'm going to pull the handles of the pliers apart, and that's going to stretch that circle into an oval.
There are also reverse action pliers. I don't like them. I've used them. I prefer actually just doing it this way, but that if you have trouble with hand strength, you might like the reverse action pliers.
I should have brought
better.
them.
I don't like them.
Bow opening or bow opening pliers or blow, I don't remember if it's opening or closing. So I'm just going to use a narrower part of the pliers. I'm going to try and stretch this a little bit further. So that's how you make it oval. Obviously you can go back in, you can see there's like a little bend there. You could go in with chain nose pliers. Oops, I'm trying.
You might see people selling mandrels for making paper clip chains. I actually prefer to just do it this way where you start with round links. It's easier to make the rings. If you make oval rings on one of those paper clip chain mandrels, it's just a little bit trickier to get them off the mandrel. Like there's some
it's harder to
additional challenges.
Yeah.
But as with all things or most things, there's different ways to get to the
Yes.
same end. So you do you.
More than one way to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So that's how you do that. You can make as long or as short as you'd like the links to be. You'll have to experiment. There's no, at least that I know, there's no formula for what size ring you need to make a certain length oval.
Yeah.
There's
too many factors.
There's too many.
But another reason I like to do it this way rather than wrapping over an oval mandrel is when you pull these oval, it work hardens the link. And so it makes a stronger chain.
Yeah. Very good point. And you don't have to just use plain wire. You can use twist wire. Yeah. Okay. So we'll probably come over here.
Okay.
So this little one here is what we're going to do something like. You want to take into consideration like the width of the opening of your link and make sure that the beads that you're choosing will fit well within that space. So like those seem like they will fit pretty well. Let's say I wanted to do these pearls, I would need to probably leave that link wider because you can see it wouldn't nestle nicely within that. So definitely start with like some copper wire, make some testers, make some samples. It's been a long time since I've done wire wrapping like this. My bench at home is full of attempts that went awry.
Can you show how to make the tiny balls on the back instead of wire wrapping the back?
Yes, but we're starting with this one. Because not everybody has the Smith Little torch. I wanted to show you how to do this, to add these beads to metalwork without necessarily having to have that special torch. Were you looking to grab something?
No, just my Dr. Pepper.
Grab your Dr.
Pepper.
Pepper.
Distracting you. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
Caffeination break.
Okay, let me.
Oh, it's so good. Sorry, Annie.
No, you're good. I just didn't know. I was like, do you have something to show? No.
I was seeing if I could reach it. That's terrible.
Okay, so I will try and work mostly in this area.
Okay.
I'm going to start by inserting my wire between the sides of the oval. And then I want to carefully, oh my gosh, it's fiddly. Carefully wrap this. I'm going to say 3 times just to give it like somewhat of a secure starting.
Wrapping the end around the
and
link.
Through. So you can see those, maybe you can see those 3 little wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You want to make sure that you're starting off, you want the wraps to be next to each other, close to each other. Let's see.
Nice and tight.
Nice and tight. So this short one, we're just going to leave that for now because we may need to make adjustments to the wrap later. Let's do this. Right now I have this long wire. It's coming out from underneath one side and it's above the other. So it's coming through this way. I'm gonna add one of these little beads, probably apatite. And I'm sorry, Lynette, it's gonna be a little fiddly
okay.
to follow.
That's fine.
Okay, so
I was going to make an appetite joke and then I decided to stay on task.
So I'm holding the bead sort of in place with my left hand, my holding hand, and I'm going to fold this wire down. I like to create sort of just like a little bend, not bend, but like a soft curve in the wire, and then pull that through rather than sticking the tail of the wire through, because you want to work this wire as little as possible. So I'll do that, and that secures that one stone in place. Now, because the bead has height to it, we want to make a couple more wraps before we add the other, or add the next bead. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull it down, feed that wire up through. Oops. Wear magnification if you need to. We'll do another wrap. And I can already feel this wire's getting tough. It's getting work hardened. Okay. So we have one bead now secured. We're gonna add another, and you can see it's going, it's from under over. Under one side and it'll be over the other. So you're getting this sort of crisscross pattern with that wire. Oops. Does anyone have questions so far? Because we're gonna just repeat this same process. I'm making sure that everything is tight and taut, but I am doing my best to work this wire as little as possible, because the more like dents and dings like you put into it, like say over at this end, straightening that out, it's just gonna work harden. And you know how easy it is if you take a paper clip and bend it back and forth until it breaks. That's gonna happen much faster with this thin wire. So you do have to just be aware and make samples. Always, always make samples. But what's good about this is if you do break your wire, it's really easy to just go back and do it again. Which, don't be mad if you have to do that. It's totally fine.
That's how you learn.
It is how you learn.
Someone asked what gauge you used for your paperclip links.
Oh, that was probably
14?
16. This one's probably 16. Oh, sorry.
No, I was so zoomed in. It's like, where do I go?
It's probably 16, but that's going to depend also on the size. Like, let's say you were going to make a long piece like this and you were going to then maybe curve it into a ring or something. Like, you would probably want to go 14. It depends on the use. Like, if it's for a link in a bracelet that's going to get a lot of wear, probably would want to go thicker. Okay, I'm just going to finish this third one. This third bead, making sure the wraps are tight. And do it one more time. Okay. So I think with the short end, I'm going to feed it back through one more time, just so that when I trim the wires, I can put them on, make them so that they're on the back of the design. So that's a quick, easy way to wrap some beads onto a hollow form. Grab some flat nose pliers. So I trimmed close, and then I'm just going to use some chain nose pliers to crimp that down, that end down really well. We'll do the same thing on this end. Like with most things, there's a few basic rules, but mostly it's experimenting and figuring out, what works best for you. And the size of beads. So I didn't quite didn't make enough wraps here. So the rows of the beads are kind of like angular. If that makes any sense, rather than perfectly straight across.
It's okay.
It's just a sample.
But you don't know that until you do it, which is why you do samples.
Yes. Yep. So that's one really easy way. Any questions about that one?
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
I do feel the need to apologize to you for the amount of garlic I ate last night, and I'm standing really close to you, and I'm sorry.
I haven't noticed.
Okay, that's good.
But also, I'm jealous of where you went to eat.
I ate a lot of garlic in my Middle Eastern food last night.
It sounds so good.
I forgot I was going to be in close proximity to another human.
At least it's just me. Okay, so I think what we'll do next. I should have planned this out more.
You did.
Okay, how about we show you how to do this version?
Yeah, I like this one. So this is what you were asking about. I think it was Babette with the balled up wire.
Yep. Which, if you really want to learn, Lynette has a class all about pinning and more in depth than what I'm going to show you today.
Can you
it's
see?
a really good one.
Someone just, Babette said, can we see the other person taking the video? Nope, that's why I'm behind the camera and not in front of the camera today. You'll see me on another live, I'm sure.
Watch all the videos. We're in this, the announcement graphic for this is it coming out with like your two favorite introvert metal songs.
Oh, yes.
Because neither one of us are like
How did I not
video
notice
stars.
that? Yeah.
Okay, so for this one, let me just sort of break down what we're looking at. There's a slot where the beads sort of nestle into. They're not fully surrounded, like bordered on with the edges of the wire, but they're visible through that slot. Then there's a hole drilled on either side of that slot, which is where the beads are attached to. And then there's an additional hole on either end of where the balled up wire goes, and that's for attaching like a drop or an ear wire.
Thank you, Patricia. Patricia says, oh my gosh, I love this demo.
Woo, good. I figure most people have a hoard of beads.
We are all
The same.
bead hoarders.
Okay, so for this, I find that, which I just made this up for the demo. So it's through experimenting, trying different things. It is not something that there's like a solid right or wrong way to do it. Okay, I'm gonna use
The other side,
beads.
they want to see the other side of this one, I think.
Yep.
Oh, I dropped
Got
it.
it.
So front, the wire feeds through the beads and through that hole and then is balled up on the back side.
I really like the backside. I feel like it gives it almost like this really contemporary architectural.
Yeah, that
type
could
look.
be the front and it would be really cool. I really like these.
Me too. You do need to take layout into consideration a little bit more with these. So I like to choose which beads I'm going to use. We're going to just do this mix here. And I want to estimate like how long, say, let's just say I want to do this many. That's how many beads that I want to show in the trough. I like to take a pair of dividers, and that's just going to allow me to estimate how long the slot that I cut needs to be. I give it a little bit extra. Maybe I'm going to close it just a touch, but that way I know that, how many beads are these? 8 beads are going to fit within this area as compared to, let's say, I was going to do these 4 iolite beads. Essentially the same area, you can only get 4. So depending on the beads, adjust the length of your slot to what's going to accommodate those beads. For the example, I use just a rectangle wire. I forgot to bring that, so I cut a strip just using my jeweler's saw this is 18 gauge, I think 18 gauge sterling. You can also play with different, doesn't have to be perfectly rectangular. Play with different outer shapes. But what I'm going to do, just so that I'll know how long the slot needs to be, let me do one thing first. Okay, so when you're scribing your metal, it's sometimes easier to see if you give your metal a non-directional satin finish first. So I'm just taking a sanding block.
Wait, it's not so shiny and like reflecting in your face.
And it's easier to see straight lines when you mark them. If your metal has just like this swooshy, non-directional finish. Okay, so we've gotten that more satin. And then I'm not worried about perfectly centering this right now. I'm just doing a little bit of layout. Oh, I don't like these dividers.
They're so fat.
They're big.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
really clunky.
All
The
right.
dividers we have in this studio are like
The
really
tips are really
clunky
weird.
jaw, and it makes it hard to see what you're doing. I don't like them. I didn't know I was opinionated about dividers until I tried these. Are they the ones that were over
Those were over there, yeah.
I don't like them.
I like the starret. We should get
Yep.
some starrets. Okay, so this marks out how long I'm going to cut the slot. The next thing that you need to lay out and decide is, oops, I'm gonna just flip that over in the same area. Actually, I'm gonna take your wire off really quick so it lays flat. Oh, look at all of that steel.
Oh, and you
That's
just touched it.
steel shavings. It's magnetized on there.
I know, but you're gonna get
Spicy splinters. Okay. So these marks, that's where the end of the slot's going to be. I want to make a divot where I'm going to drill the hole for the wire, the balled up wire, to be fed through. So I like to, oops. You can measure this. I tend to be a big fan of eyeballing whenever possible. So I'm going to just say approximately there. You can take your dividers and make sure that it's perfectly centered and things like that, but I say why complicate it when it doesn't necessarily have to be complicated. So I'm going to do approximately the same distance on the other end of that scribed mark. Okay, that's where I'm going to drill the hole for the balled up wire. The next holes are for whatever you're attaching it to. So these outer holes are going to be a bigger hole, depending on what you're attaching it to. So I like to, again, you can measure it. I like to give it just a little bit more space than I did between where the slot's going to be and the wire, just because that hole is going to be bigger. If you are doing these and want to make multiples at a time, I would measure, just so that you have consistent earrings, if that makes sense. You have the same spacing on all of them. But for what I'm doing, this is just easier to eyeball it. I'm also, because I want to drill a slot, I need to mark out the width of the slot. And again, you can measure, like, what did we say? We're going to do these seed beads. So these are really small. I am going to, well, let's see. I have them set about this wide. That doesn't really help, but sort of an eyeball thing. I'm going to rest one jaw of the dividers along the metal, and I'm going to just scribe a line. And I'll do the same thing with the other jaw. And that's going to give me a centered layout for where to cut that slot.
Can you do that on the back just so they can see one more time how you just did that from either side?
Yep.
So she set the divider. How did you decide how wide to set the divider?
It was eyeballing. I wanted to make sure that it was
wider than the beads?
Wider than the beads.
Narrower than the beads.
It's about, for this, maybe like 2/3 of the width.
Okay. So she came from like the jaws on the left,
dragging
on the top, and now.
Yeah, so dragging this bottom jaw along the top edge, and then keeping the dividers the same, resting the jaw on the bottom edge of the strip, and scribing.
Okay.
And so that gives you the same distance from each side.
Yep.
Okay. We need one more divot to drill a hole. And so I'm just going to do that within this opening. It doesn't have to be a big, deep, like center punch. You just need a little divot so that the drill bit will rest within that divot. Drill bit size. You want it to be larger than the wire you're using, but only slightly. You don't want it to be so big that the balled up wire will fit through. I don't know what size I'm using. I don't know. It's just.
It looks like it's the equivalent to like 20 gauge wire, probably.
Maybe.
So like a 0.8 millimeter, roughly.
Yeah.
I would say roughly 0.8 millimeter.
So let's come over to my bench pin.
Someone says those are really bad. A.
Thank you. I was like, what's A? What's really bad?
This is a family show.
Okay, so I have my drill bit. I have it lubricated. And I'm just going to drill holes at each of these divots. I am not going fast, and I am not pressing very hard with the drill bit. I am letting the drill bit do the work. And humming as I work, whistle while you work. We should have like a live camera on us, because there are often songs and sound effects in the studio.
So annoying.
It's not true.
I just like burst out into song full volume.
We have fun at work. There we go. All right. So I've drilled all those holes. I am going to, for right now, I think I will, I don't know if I'm going to enlarge these outer holes or yet or not. Oh yeah, I will. I just wanted to make sure I had the tool. So this is, what do we even call it? tapered cylinder burr or cone burr.
I think it's a cone burr. I don't
I don't know
know.
exactly what it's called.
Never remember the names of things. Looks like a cross-cut cone
Cone
burr.
burr. They come in a bunch of different sizes.
But you could use a ball burr, you could use
Oh,
a
yeah.
Krause burr, you could use a bud burr.
A
Like it
larger
doesn't
drill
have to
bit.
be this burr.
No.
Yeah, a bigger. She's just making the holes larger.
Yep. Just these outer two, because that is where I'll attach it to an ear wire or a jump ring. And so what I do is I kind of get the burr going a little bit. I like to go in sort of at an angle and then rotate it back and forth until it goes through. And again, this, whatever size you enlarge this to is going to be dependent on what you're attaching this piece to. And not going full throttle with the flex shaft. I'm going pretty slow.
That will make your burrs live longer, happier
Mhm.
lives.
And in turn, it will give you more joy. I don't even know if we have a larger drill bit.
I do, but not for the quick change.
Okay. Oh, but do you have one that I can just grab?
Yeah. Should be in there, but I'm a slob. Is that not big enough? Maybe not.
We'll try. And if not, it will give you the idea. An easy way to get rid of the burrs is to take a larger drill bit.
Usually one that's a little bit bigger than this.
Yeah. And just using your fingers, place the tip into the holes and twist it, and that removes that burr. This one won't work for the larger holes, but you can see that really quickly removes that burr. This is just a heart burr. And that may or may not work. It works a little bit. It's just removing that burr edge. You can also just go in with,
I think we have a scraper too. I don't know.
for now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of abrasive paper. These are snap-on sanding discs. Everyone always asks. Okay, so I'm just grinding that burr off. Okay. What you could do now, which is what I would do, but I'm not going to, would be to trim these edges of the strip to whatever shape you want, whether you want them straight across or kind of rounded like the sample. I'm not going to do that just because it's a demo, but you would choose the shape, and I would leave at minimum a 1/16 of an inch, probably closer to like 2 millimeters on the end to just maintain the integrity of the metal and the strength. So next will be to pierce out the slot.
I've always heard if you're drilling a hole next to an edge, you should have, like, whatever the diameter of the hole is, you should have at least, at minimum, that much material on all sides. So if this is a 1.5 millimeter hole, you would want to have 1.5 millimeters thickness of metal on all sides.
I love that.
I don't know how
That's a
exact
good-
you have to be, but that's a rule of thumb that I've gone
That's
by.
a really good, rule of thumb. Okay, so I am going to pierce this out. So I'm just threading my saw blade through that hole. And then to tighten it, I don't press the handle of my saw. A lot of people say press it against your sternum. That hurts.
I can't even watch you do that.
So
It's
I'm not doing that.
hurts me.
So I like to hold the handle in my hand, put the blade between the jaws, and then press in using like my shoulder and my body weight to press against the frame. Okay. Use lubricant. And I'm just going to saw on the inside of my scribed lines. I don't know if you can see at all.
I have it zoomed. We can see the lines a little bit.
And I always saw as like slowly and as smoothly as possible. The more practice you get with sawing and the straighter you cut, the less cleanup you're gonna have to do. I'm using probably a 4/0 blade. That's usually my standard. And so I'll get to the corner, and I'm gonna just basically saw up and down in the same place and slowly turn, clearing out space for the depth of the saw blade to be able to turn without breaking. And then we'll do that again. A little bit more lubricant.
Sorry, I'm not great at holding this perfectly still. And when it's zoomed, like every tiny movement looks huge. I'm sorry.
Going as fast as I can while also trying not to break a blade live on camera. Now I probably will. Okay, slowly turning.
Don't speak it out loud.
I know, I was like, I spoke as though it's gonna be true. Okay. I'm gonna do a little tidying up on this far end while I have the blade in there. I cut it at sort of an angle instead of a 90 degree. So clean that up a little bit. I'm gonna remove my blade. So you can see that's the slot. I would, if I was doing this for a finished piece, I would go in with a needle file or escapement file. And this is a flat one. I think it only has teeth on the top and bottom. But I would go into that slot and clean it up a little bit. I'm not gonna worry about doing that too much for the demo, but you would want to just make that rectangle slot a little smoother and nicer looking. So there's that. I am gonna take, just to get rid of those burrs, I'm just gonna go in with that same sanding disc. I'm just gonna go across the surface, get rid of the burrs. So that's the little section of beads that we're gonna do, that we're gonna attach to it. So any questions so far?
Haven't seen any questions come through,
Cool.
but I will let you know if they do.
Okay, I'm gonna take a drink of water. And then we'll move on to attaching the beads. Okay. I have already balled up some wire. I'll show you how to ball up the other end. It's just going to be the same process, just without any beads on it. Trim one end real quick. Okay. What we want to do, you want to decide, which is going to be the front of your piece here. Like you could start with textured metal. That would be really nice. So you would have a textured border. But you want to insert a wire that already has a ball on the back through one of the wire holes.
Ooh, zoomed so much.
My phone really likes to zoom.
It's
like really
oh, you wanna
into the zoom.
Let me do that.
Let me zoom all the way in.
It's like a dog when you say the word treat and it's just like in your face all of a sudden.
We say do you? And she loses her mind because that's do you want to go outside? Do you want?
Always. She always wants to do.
She always just do. Yes. The answer is yes. Okay, I have to turn this so that I can do it. But I have my wire through this piece first so that it is locked in place. And then I'm just feeding that wire through the beads that I want.
Oh, you can tell she's done this before, guys. Look at that.
I also
Expert level.
I did work in a bead shop after grad school. Okay. So here it looks like I'm actually going to be able to fit maybe one extra bead in there.
Yeah, with the length.
Yeah. So I'm going to just grab another. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm using my fingernails to sort of align those beads with the slot. In this case, it doesn't have to, your beads don't have to fit down into the slot. They can. Completely up to you. In the sample that I made, they don't fit down into it. They just rest on it. So it's going to be a design choice. But what I want to do is I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to support that ball that's on the back side of that wire. And I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to carefully thread it through, making sure that everything is staying aligned and that I'm not getting big kinks in the wire.
So satisfying.
Right? It's like, oh, just loop. And then do some fiddling until everything lays the way I want it to. So I can do a little bit of straightening out afterwards, but that's basically what I'm looking for. That's from this side, and then that's from the back side or the front, depending on what you want to do. Perfect. Okay, so next on the agenda is we want to ball up the end of this wire to lock all the beads in place. So we'll head over to the torch. Pulling it kind of tight.
Patty's asking if the slot is necessary. Do the beads... The comment disappeared.
You don't have to make a slot.
Yeah.
I just
it
like
just
being
looks
able to
really cool.
see through.
And the beads will kind of stick up more rather than, being more flush with the metal if they're just resting on top, but it's not necessary for it to function.
It's a design choice. Okay, I'm going to...
I'm trying to decide the best place for me to be. Maybe over here. What do you think?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm using some cross-locking tweezers in a third hand. I want to turn this a little bit. Actually, put them up here just to elevate it a little bit more. What I want to do is I want to suspend the the zoom in. I want to suspend the piece so that it's horizontal and that the wire is pointing down.
It's like focusing on the pumice and not the...
We can move this because I don't necessarily need it.
That's way better.
Way better? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to come in here and trim the end of this wire. Do you have a set length that you do it?
I do. I do like 1/4 of an inch, but it depends on the size of ball that you want.
And the thickness of the wire that you're
so
using.
You have way tinier... your balls are way smaller than the ones that I make usually. Sorry, trying to focus. So that's why you have a shorter length of wire. What did you do on there?
It was probably like 3/16 maybe. Maybe it might be kind of close to a quarter.
I'd say that's like 5 millimeters.
Approximately.
Ish.
You can do tests to see how much length is taken up by the balls if you want to make sure that they are perfectly symmetrical.
And it takes a little practice getting
100%.
getting your balls like consistently sized.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to fire up the mini.
And I'm gonna try to make sure you guys can see this happen. It's so tiny. And it keeps going out of focus. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
I'm just over here working on. What? There you going out. Oh, it's just being weird for a second. Okay. So it's hard to tell on the camera, but I have a really hot, really pointy flame.
Okay.
And I'm going to go in. I have my torch pointed away from the beads. And I'm going to sort of angle it down, and I'm going to come right up to the end of that wire, heat it until it balls. Woo.
So it's hard for me to get it.
Hard to show on camera.
But hopefully you saw that just ball up, and she followed the flame up to where she wanted it to stop, but keeping the flame directed more downwards and not heating up the sheet metal or the beads, because if you heat those glass beads, they'll shatter.
They will shatter. I'm going to try and turn it over. Oh, I was going to try and keep it in the same spot. So there's the bead that I just balled up, and that's the original. So I'm going to let this cool a little bit, and then I'm going to cool.
Whatever you do, do not quench, because if the glass beads got warm and then you go quench it in cold water, then they will explode.
Yeah, so I tend to just touch it with my steel pliers and then rinse it, and then I'm going to toss it in the pickle because it did get a little oxidized.
And glass beads are okay in the pickle, but
Yes.
stone beads or shell you would not want to put in the pickle. Depends on the stone.
Depends
Some
on the
stones
stone,
are
but
okay.
yeah.
As a general rule, I would say be careful. With stone, definitely don't put shell in the
Or
pickle.
pearl.
Yeah, don't do that.
Pickle isn't as scalding as it usually is, so it's taking a little bit. Any questions while we wait for this little bit to clean?
Go back and look at the samples while we're waiting for it to clean up a little bit. Don't forget to check out these new pattern plates. Their textures are pretty cool. Stingray skin one is really fun.
So good.
Annie made a couple little fun things with it. I really like the sea turtle one too.
It's good.
It's a larger overall pattern, but it's
It'll
like
make a good
pretty
bracelet.
dramatic. Yeah. Did you get it clean?
Yep. I don't know what's going to be easiest to see. So there's one side. That's the front. In this case, it's the front. And then you can see the two balls on the other. And you do need that Smith Little torch to
Yep.
do
Don't
that.
try to do that with the Smith Silversmith or butane or any of that. You'll just be frustrated.
The flame is too big and not hot enough to be able to get in, heat that wire until it melts, and get out before you heat the stones or the beads, because they will break. Ask me how I know. And so this technique, that's the same thing that I did in this example. I used a pancake die with the Stingray Sking pattern plate, cut a slot in it, fed the wire through with the beads, and then balled up both ends of the wire.
So then, like on this one,
Yeah, so
you
that
did
one,
similar, but you just left longer pieces.
yeah. So this one you would have to kind of experiment a little bit to figure out how many wires and of what thickness will fit through this connecting jump ring that's attached to the impression, that will fit through but not fall through once they are balled up. In that case, I added a little tiny seed bead at the top of each one. Oops. In addition to the ball.
Patricia, the torch we have here is oxypropane. At home, when I do the pinning technique, I have the Smith little torch set up with oxyacetylene. So either the oxyacetylene or the oxypropane, both will work.
Yeah. And
the Smith acetylene air torch will not work for this technique.
Correct. I have the Smith Little, but I use it with disposable tanks because when I got it, I was living in an apartment and couldn't have big tanks, and I just haven't paid to switch it over yet. So they can go to the Smith website and you'll see what's available. You do want the Smith Little oxygen propane or oxyacetylene.
Yeah, and you buy the torch and then you buy the regulators for whichever fuel type you're using.
Yep. How long has it been?
1 hour and 7 minutes.
Okay. I think I'll probably call it for the demo unless there's something that you really want to see. If not, I will probably make a separate video.
They want to see pave setting, Annie. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Not gonna happen. So
could you just show them really quick how pave set?
Just really quick.
Like a full eternity wedding band all the way around.
Unfortunately,
with a
not
halo
prepared
setting
for that. Unfortunately. So I hope that gives you a couple little different ideas as far as ways to add beads, a little bit of color to your metal work. This is another way that you possibly can. So when you make ear wires, you could add a bead to the ear wire before you form the part that goes through the ear. Oh, here's what I was looking for. That's the sample. Our little sample. Yeah, be sure to check out our Earth Day spotlight that we have going on. Tons of impression dies.
Great leaves in there.
Great turtles.
A really sweet little tree. The turtles are really fun. I will finish my little turtle container and show you guys that later.
Yeah. The new pattern plates. We also, we're reaching the end of the month. So the April monthly impression dies, those will be coming down at the end of the month. So if you've been having your eye on some of those monthly impression dies, get them now because they're going away to be replaced with new ones. And then as a thank you for just hanging out with us, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of two things that are coming up on May 1st.
This never happens.
Nope.
Normally, Annie is the protector of secrets, not the divulger of secrets.
This is a fact. So these are two new pattern plates that'll be coming up May 1st. We've got like a sugar skull. We have more plates than this, but these are two of them. So they'll be coming soon.
Brand new. Jack-o'-lantern.
some little scary jack-o'-lanterns. Let me see real quick. Haven't decided what I'm doing with that yet, but using a silhouette die with that jack-o'-lantern one.
There's bats on it too. I didn't even notice the bats.
And then that's the like sugar skull again with another silhouette die. So that's just a little sneak peek. I think the first is
Keep it
Wednesday.
a secret though. Don't
Yeah.
screenshot this and share
Don't
it in the
tell
group.
everybody. It's your little bonus for hanging out with us today. So yeah, thanks so much. If you have questions, let us know. And yeah, be sure to head over to the website, see what we've got, and have fun. Show pictures of anything that you make that you add beads to.
And come hang out with us next week,
Yep.
Wednesday, 10 a.m. for another demo.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
bye, guys.
everybody.